guys, I hope everyone's doing good. Got another episode of Car Talk. Would you believe it? I know. I'll think of something else soon, but I really just like making these videos. But today I wanted to talk about friends. Friends are a conundrum. I feel like we all have friends. No matter what anyone says, I'm looking at you. When anyone says, we all have friends. Everyone knows someone who, at the very bare minimum, is an acquaintance, right? We all know people. But we can also all agree, and we all know, that it's very hard to make connections even with these friends, right? It's difficult making connections with people outside of yourself. And I know that kind of sounds obvious, like, oh, well, everyone else is outside of yourself. But you know you best, right? You know what you like, you know what you don't like. And it's almost your job to show those likes, dislikes, your personality, emotions, how you're feeling, everything like that, to other people to let them ascertain whether or not they want to be friends with you or more or less, right? Now, no one's forcing you to do it, just like no one can force you to do a job, but it is your responsibility as yourself to put yourself out there. Let people know who you are. Because if you don't, then you're going to either A, attract the wrong people, or B, attract no one at all. And no one wants to do either of those things, right? So I've always lived on a basis of honesty. And I was telling one of my friends about this, and I tell my girlfriend this all the time, to be honest. Funnily enough, I said that I think honesty is one of the greatest things that someone can have, because it's the basis of rebuilding, and it's also the basis of understanding. If you don't understand what the situation is due to a lack of honesty, it can be very hard to rebuild a relationship. It can be very hard to rebuild a friendship. It can be very hard to just start before even the rebuilding process even occurs. Friendships need to be built off of trust and off of honesty, and it needs to be understood where each party is at throughout the entire relationship. I think most people would agree with that. And I say this because it makes sense, and it's just that simple. And you would think that when things make sense, they would occur in that order, or they would occur as such. But they don't, which is the funny thing about life and about people and humanity as a whole, right? Because we do things that don't make sense, and we try to make it make sense when we all know it does not make sense. And I'm sure I could just say that, and we all have a situation we can think of, right? But I really do think that with honesty comes better relationships. I do. I have plenty of people I know where they might not be the nicest people, but they're honest about who they are. And I think at that point, it comes down to the individual who wants to be near them to decide, hey, they have made it very clear that this is who they are. Do I stick around them? And then if I do I complain about it? And I've seen people stick around and then they complain about the person they are when they told you who they were from the beginning. So you can't be mad at them. Now, I'm not saying that that person shouldn't try to be a better individual or try to relieve some habits that are negatively impacting their relationships, friendships, whatever. But I'm just saying that if this person said who they are, then don't be mad at them for being who they are. And I think that's a difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around, is you can't change someone to be a better version of what you want them to be. You have to allow them to change in a way that they want to change and that's productive to them. And sometimes that change doesn't happen. And sometimes that change, when it does happen, it's not even productive at all. It's just completely negative. And that's okay, because that's not your responsibility. Again, I find that your job, your responsibility is to show and to exemplify the person you are, so people can go and say, that's who that is, and there's no questions about it, right? I think that's the only fair thing, because we're all in our own bodies, and we should be able to essentially explain who we are to people without having to actually sit there and talk it out. Not that saying you should walk into a room of a bunch of strangers and they point at you and they say, you know what? I've never seen that guy before, but I definitely know his name. You know what I mean? Like, not like that, but I'm saying like that you should give off an aura and you should give off an attitude, and you should be able to state who you are without outright stating it, because it's just who you are. The only person you're negatively impacting deep down is yourself if you're not honest with yourself. And I've had so many situations where people are just dishonest, not to me, but to themselves and their own habits and what they like and what they dislike, and then it puts them in a disadvantage in life. Solely just off the fact that they end up doing all these things they don't want to do. And I'm sure we know about that. And I'm sure we've all done it to ourselves. I mean, a good example, I keep talking about jobs, but a good example is doing a job and saying you like it when you don't like it. It sucks, and it happens. And sometimes you're put in this position because you just have to pay the bills. Things need to get done. You've got people to take care of, including yourself, and there's just not much else you can rely on in terms of finances. Now you're just doing this job. And that's different. I will say that's different. But if you're able to choose where you want to go in life, the people you hang around with, all these things, and then you don't because you aren't honest with just yourself to begin with, then what are you doing? You know? I know that sounds like I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. But it does make me think, and I hope it makes you think about the potential sad reality of certain situations that people get themselves in over not knowing who they are, or even worse, knowing who they are and being afraid to show it. I guess a good example of that can be a simple one with hiding in the closet as a gay person, right? That's been a big thing recently where people have been coming out, and I think that's awesome. I think people being able to show who they've been this entire time is awesome, and I know it's a stress just ripped right out of their heart that they can now express themselves. And I think that's where a lot of change has been happening because of it. But like, you know, obviously everyone back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, early 2000s, obviously way before that, but I'm a young person. Just, you know, the past 50 years we've been so closed-minded, and now we've slowly been opening up to this new reality of people. And I think it's awesome, and I think it's honestly really cool being able to deep dive and see another layer of our own humanity that we all knew about, but we were afraid to admit due to societal standards. And obviously societal standards aren't straight up laws, but I would argue that to some degree they can be more easily enforced than laws, because your peers dictate a lot of how you react in certain situations or how you treat even just yourself. Like, laws don't really exist. Laws are your day-to-day, yes, but you're not really confronted by laws until it becomes something negative, like if you get pulled over by a police officer or you see a sign saying don't trespass, stuff like that. But your peers are your day-to-day. Your peers is something you see. Your peers is something you interact with. And that social pressure can really hold you back. And it kind of all comes back around to the idea of, if you surround yourself with people and ideas and activities that you aren't really truthfully enjoying because you're not being honest with yourself, then you limit yourself. And I can only imagine the amount of people who were in the closet, who were gay, who surrounded themselves with people who were, I don't know why I'm forgetting the word, did not like gay people. I'm forgetting the word for homophobic. Wow, that's embarrassing. Surrounded them by homophobic people. And I get it, you know, maybe like it's a concealing method where if you surround yourself by people who are homophobic, then it will make you seem less gay. Literally, you'll seem like part of the crowd, you'll blend in. But all you're doing is just steering yourself away from the true you. And I don't think people should do that. I think we all need to be a little bit more honest with ourselves, right? And this is not some grandiose coming out speech. I'm just saying, like I said, I have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend, but I'm just saying that I believe everyone should be more of themselves and less of who they think they should be and less who they think people want them to be. Because we're all us and we're all unique. And I think as long as we're unique, we should be experiencing our own unique lives and sharing that with everyone and trying to be the best versions of ourselves. For real. But it's hard. So I guess the big advice, the grandiose advice for today is be a better you. As much as you can be. Don't do anything too crazy, but show everyone who you are. You know? Get out there a little bit. Have some fun. Or don't. I can't tell you what to do. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.